After days that felt like weeks of waiting, watching Ohio State players enter the transfer portal and declare for the NFL draft, Ohio State fans finally have something to call their own out of the transfer portal. And you know what? It's not quite bad. Let's talk about what they got and why I'm bullish on at least two of these signees. And let's talk about what they still need to add. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, hit that subscribe button, like this video, answer the question in the comments below. Do you think the Buckeyes have added enough in the transfer portal to compete for the Big Ten championship, let alone the national championship? Following the 2025 season, which ended prematurely by Buckeye standards, being ousted in the college football playoff as the number 2 team in the country by a Miami team that is playing for the national championship on Monday. But before that, being beaten by an Indiana team that is running through everybody they play and has an opportunity to do something that has not been done since 1894, and that is complete a perfect 16-0 season. Buckeyes have entered the NFL draft and declared for the transfer portal. Now, a couple of these you already knew had to happen, right? Caleb Downs, for instance, entering the NFL draft. Absolutely. Max Clare entering the NFL draft. Yeah, probably. But things like Jelani Thurman entering the transfer portal, not necessarily. Lincoln Keenholz, maybe you saw that coming. Maybe you didn't. Caden entering the NFL draft, sure, maybe you saw that too. But things like, I'll say Carnell Tate, right? Things you got to see coming. But for me, the things they needed to add were at tailback, at cornerback, at kicker. And we can talk about the offensive line. But let's start with some of the good things they did, like getting Justin Martin from Maryland. Yes, I know this is probably the least of Ohio State's worries if you're a Buckeye fan or a neutral quarterback position. They got Julian Sand there. Tavian St. Clair's got another year of learning behind what has turned out to be one of the better quarterbacks in all of college football. But Justin Martin fills that Lincoln Keenholz spot. Lincoln Keenholz, who played some snaps at Ohio State. I think they're trying to keep him happy. I think they're trying to get opportunities for him to show what he can do on the football field. Most of that was in run plays. He has since transferred to Louisville, where many people thought he was going to be the starter. And I'm going, nah, I think Miller Moss is coming back. And Miller Moss is absolutely coming back. But perhaps Jeff Brom sees something in Lincoln Colts that he can cultivate into the kind of guy that can go help them win championships. I also think they got a lot of help defensively. When I didn't think they absolutely positively needed to add defensively to what they already have, unless we're talking about cornerback, really. I get that you always need defensive tackles. You need someone next to Edric Houston. And you know what? They've done a little bit to already assuage that, but I'm certain that already people are talking about what needs to be happening at the safety position. But I really do enjoy the addition of Quay Russaw and James Smith, guys that played with each other in Montgomery, Alabama at Carver High. Smith is not the pass rusher that Russaw is, but you've seen what he could do, right? This is a dude that when he is healthy and going 100% all the time can be an absolute dynamo. 26 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks this season. Again, when he's healthy, one of the best defensive tackles in college football, and I think really would pair well with a guy like Edric Houston and transfer John Walker from Central Florida. You're also getting Smith, who I think is going to be able to help fill that gap. If you want depth, James Smith is a great depth guy, and he's going to help them at that position. I also think that if you take into account what the ceiling for that defense could be, again, could it be the best scoring defense in the country? Sure, it could. Is it likely to be? Probably not, seeing what they lost, particularly with the loss of Caleb Downs. Now, I don't think that Jalen McClain got as much attention as he should have in 2025, but that's because you're playing next to Caleb Downs. This season, you're going to hear a lot of Jalen McClain talk. That is an outstanding safety that the Buckeyes have back there, and he is going to be the guy that I think leads that secondary in a tremendous way, to say nothing of what else they got in Sanchez and Matthews. I realize that a lot of folks are going to miss Igbinosin, but the man is handsy, right? The man was handsy, right? And you don't really want those penalties. He picked up a bunch of those penalties in 2025, but I still think you need another cornerback. I still think you need another running back. I think We saw what Bo Jackson was capable of as a freshman. You got to be bullish on what he could do as a sophomore. But losing a guy in James Peoples to Penn State, that's an outstanding tailback. Did he expect to be in the position that Bo Jackson was in? Sure he did. Is he willing to fight for that? Not in the age of the transfer portal when people are going to pay you even more money to help them out. And now you're adding to what I think is a Penn State team that expects to be really good next year and can be, quite frankly. I think they're going to be pretty damn good. I also want to take a moment to just talk about what we have seen from those safety positions in years past. Outstanding play. So you needed to fill that spot with more outstanding play. Getting Terry Moore from Duke and Earl Little from Florida State, that's going to help you tremendously. And those two guys are probably going to lead the conversation about any 2026 transfer portal cycle stuff for the Buckeyes. In Little, you've got one of the best safeties in all the ACC, which, by the way, is having a moment right now when a lot of people talking nasty about the ACC and how it ain't that good, including the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, might end up with a national champion. I still think it's funny that Miami could win the national championship before they win the ACC title, which might tell you just how convoluted the tie-breaking system is, because many people think, Georgia Tech, they probably should have played in the ACC championship game instead of Duke, but Duke played in it and won, right? Shout out to Manny Diaz, who I saw at AFCA, and it was very kind. Really like going to the AFCA convention. Talk a little bit more about that later, but I spent a lot of time getting to know and a lot of coaches from across divisions. And I mean, I can't tell you enough good things about these men and what they believe and who they are and what they sacrifice to do this, but also just how much they hate the transfer portal, just how much they hate recruiting during this period. Like, I still think that the smart thing to do is to move it to the spring window, into the semester, and go with the OTAs. I realize that there are some coaches that want to know who's going to be on their roster in the spring, but as far as I understand it, spring football in the college space is dead, and we don't need to keep treating it like that. Also, you probably saw the national headline is the coaches want to move the redshirt rule from 4 games in a season to 9 games in a season, mostly because players are incentivized to sit 4 games and still collect the check that, they get paid for the year. They don't get paid per game like the NFL. And there's no collective bargaining agreement where you can kind of codify these rules. Charlie Baker still wants to get this done, but I don't see how you're going to get this done with one of the most transient players association that would ever exist. 5 years? Come on, man. There's no leadership there. There's nobody in charge there. You can't take that seriously. And I don't think a judge is really going to look at that and go, no. You're not going to build this thing just so you can take advantage of it. No, that's not happening. So until then, coaches are going, all right, let's incentivize the players to play longer instead of asking them to play just a third of the season and then take the red shirt. Say they can play up to 3/4 of the season and take the red shirt. I think that's a pretty good deal, and I support that. It was unanimously voted, but it's just their opinion. Still got to put it before the Division I committee. Terry Moore, when he's healthy at Duke, really great. 2024, 71 tackles, 7 for loss, 4 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. Again, between him and Earl Little, who had 76 tackles, 4 interceptions this season, you've got 2 safeties that can help you fill the void that is going to be left by Caleb Downs, who could do everything that you asked him do in college football. So knowing all of that and knowing just how it's important for that defense to be as good as it was, I still think the one thing that they're absolutely missing, I mean, I'd be remiss right quick if I didn't mention that Hunter Welking is transferring from Northwestern, 7th year tight end, to fill that spot left by either Jelani Thurman or Max Clare, depending on how you want to see it. Good tight end, 28 catches, 296 yards last year. Can be as good as Max Clare was this year. I still think you need an offensive coordinator, and this will probably be another segment that I do. But I honestly believe that Ryan Day being a CEO head coach is best for him, best for the program. It's hard to look at this and think that him calling plays is going to be the best way forward. Can he do it? Yes. Are they competitive when he does it? Absolutely. But as you get closer to the end of November and into December, where he's going to be stretched thinner, you need a guy that's been knowing the whole defense, the whole offense, the whole year. That's where Chip Kelly came through. That's where Brian Hartline came through. Still looking for that guy who is that guy going to be, especially knowing that Chip Kelly is back in the conference. Now, Brian Dable's been mentioned. Todd Monken's been mentioned. A couple other guys that I think should be mentioned. And I asked a couple of folks who at the convention who they thought might be a good fit from Division III all the way up, and I was really interested in some of their answers. We'll get to those later. But that is my Buckeye transfer portal recap for those of you that have asked for it in the comments below. And also add to that, if you're a member, you're probably going to get a response like this from me. We do have memberships here on the channel. They're only so you can get the membership and have the sticker, and we're coming up with other ways to do that, but it's very low. It costs little, and you're only going to help us make this show bigger. The show is the goal for this show is to end it up on television, and you having a hand in that means the world to us.